coach. She's a best-selling author, an international speaker, and a spiritual mentor. Victoria Reynolds was born and raised, listen to this, in a polygamist cult. She left as a teenager and now teaches leading-edge self-improvement and spiritual concepts of religious dogma. Fabulous. And she has a book out that is just going fabulous right up the ladder. It's called Transcending Fear. It's got such wonderful, wonderful reviews. Ladies and gentlemen, our wonderful speaker for today, Victoria Reynolds. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a hand for Victoria. Come on.
As you heard, I was born in a polygamist cult. This was in the mountains of Montana. Yes, polygamy does exist outside of Utah. And it was a small community that had only 6 families when I was born. So I was actually born into this. It's the only thing I had ever known. And as I grew, it was the only thing that I knew. I was not exposed to the outside worlds. Once in a while we would go into town in the car, and they weren't even allowed to get out of the car because we might see things that were inappropriate for us to see. And in this community that I was raised in, I was raised with a dogma that was extremely fear-based. And this understanding is the reason that I've written this book, Transcending Fear, because it's really about overcoming these fear-based beliefs from my childhood as an adult that I understood were still affecting me. And I didn't realize they were still affecting me until I was in this midlife transition that I now lovingly call it. But this love is all there is message that Dr. Sharon has asked me to share with you this morning is the most profound experience I've ever had in my life. Now, in this belief system that I was raised with, every belief that you can imagine being taught a child, especially as a little girl, that could cause trauma, or what is now being diagnosed as religious. I completely blanked on what it is. It's religious trauma syndrome has actually been an actual diagnosis now as of a few years ago. And I didn't know until just a few years ago that that was the impact my belief system had had on me. I was taught that I was just a stupid girl, that I was nothing without a man to take care of me, that I didn't deserve an education, that I didn't deserve to learn how to drive because only boys could drive, that girls got married at 14 because that's when their bodies were ready to be married, that as a girl I had to obey all of the men in my life over the age of 12. So you can imagine in that patriarchal of a system some of the experiences that I had as a little girl. Experiences that little girls should have to deal with. And by the time I was 16 years old, the only thing I wanted in life was to end my life. I fantasized nearly every day about how I would do it, because there's nothing I wanted to live for. And I didn't want to spend eternity with some man that I didn't love and share him with a bunch of other women, because that was the only heaven I had ever been sold. And one day I decided that it was time. I was tired of thinking about suicide and that it was time. And I had just had my 17th birthday. Both of my sisters had been married at 17, and I was terrified I would end up like them. And I climbed up to the top of this hillside, and this cliff, and overlooked this beautiful valley that other people would call God's country, and all I saw was hell. And I decided that this was it. And I went out there to the edge, and I closed my eyes and got ready to jump. And then that voice that we talked about earlier, that voice inside of me said, do you want to take that chance? Do you want to spend the rest of eternity in hell, or just one life to live it? And in that moment, I stopped, and I decided to choose life. Because what I wanted more than anything wasn't to end my life. I just wanted to end my present life. What I really wanted more than anything was a way out. And in that decision to choose life, an opportunity presented itself to me just a few months later, and I did find a way out. In the suicide of one of my best friend's fathers, who was a son of the prophet, I realized that perhaps he knew something I didn't know. Perhaps what I had been taught about what's out there after you go isn't really what's out there. And that if he found the courage to leave, so could I. And one of his relatives had come for the funeral. I lied and told him my parents had said it was okay if I left. I went home, I got a brown paper bag, my teddy bear, a toothbrush, a couple of changes of clothing, and I got in the back of that car and I left.